Hey, what up, everybody? Surely a lot of y'all know currently that Cassie is about to be sued, this, that, and the third. And NTR got a little clip here. With that being said, let's enjoy.
This is my story. I
Let me
was
turn
told by
this up.
Sandra Ventura for 8 years to be a film provider. I didn't have to be the best looking guy. I was the best in bed. I was given this arrangement. I
Okay,
was
hope you
forced.
guys can
I
hear.
was drugged. I was manipulated with promises of money, gifts for over a period of 8 years to continue to be this woman's provider at her expense and at the expense of me. So she already admitted in court that she would have these like infections so bad that after a while, like the medication was no longer working, and like that's how frequently she was getting these infections. Now she later admitted that to contracting the STD and blame
Ooh.
showing reckless regard for Clinton's health. Her action resulted. Now this is where it gets a little messy. Okay. Now he's claiming that he got her pregnant. It's true, right? This is all alleged. It is wild to be a participant of a free call in this wild ass lifestyle and not be a crazy. The gentleman that's bottom of the screen here, if you are unfamiliar with his face, he goes by the name of Punisher. He was one of the escorts identified in the Diddy trial where
Get
Diddy
right back in a second, y'all. Gotta
hired
give me some water.
country in order to engage in their baby oil affairs free calls. Now what's interesting is that within Diddy's case, he has been found guilty of transportation, but I would love to propose to you guys here today, if Diddy was found guilty of transportation, then why was not Cassie? Because within the trial, the woven veil of oh woe is me, I am a victim, persona or brand that Cassie was trying to portray was quickly removed due to admissions like this one right here. Listen up. Who actually organizes and who was doing the interactions with you, the payments and so on? I only ever spoke to and interact with Miss Ventura. From telephone calls, text messages, to when I was greeted at the hotel room, to even cordial conversations before and after the sexual play I described, all my interactions with her. It's very interesting that the person that was purporting to be the complete victim in this case, now, not victim of domestic violence, we know that she was a victim of that, but the victim in this kind of ass trafficking, transportation. It's interesting that this guy only had interactions with Cassie. This gentleman would also go on to explain a story about how he was unable to make one of their rendezvous, and Cassie would just so quickly ask, hey, do you got anyone else that can such and so forth? What about going to Six Flags? And she called up and was like, yo, are you free? And usually when I would come through, it would be like Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. So I'm like, hey, yo, you know what? I'm in Six Flags. Can I come the next day? And she was like, oh, yo, if you can't make it, can you send somebody else? And bro, I was buttered, right?
I was just about to go there, bro, because you've been getting this money consistently. No, but I'm saying, like, I would have felt some type of way about that.
Yeah, and also, I think I'm special. Right. Yeah. With my girlfriends and I believe that at the time when this was going on, I thought I was the only guy.
Sorry.
When she first called me, it was like, it's my birthday, it's something special. So, the few people I told, I'm like, yeah, I'm Cassie's guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So when she said this to anybody else, I was just like, oh man, I'm just. Did you refer to me? Hell no. I got some excuse to my girl. Hey, yo, I'm having we gotta go. Cassie's free. Apparently goes no bounds. And again, if Diddy is getting prosecuted in all of this, then why is not Cassie? Now, up until this point, you've only seen this male escort, the Punisher, speaking about his experiences in public interviews, but now there's another. And this gentleman is not only speaking about it, but he's suing both Diddy and Cassie for.
And shout out to MTR. The reason why Cassie's not getting sued is because for some reason the Southern District of New York don't care about Cassie. All they care about is Diddy. I'm like this here. I agree with NPR. If they gonna get Diddy, they should got Cassie too, and they should got Gina, and they should got Daphne Joy too. I said what I said. Let's continue.
How he's been wrong. As a man, if I had laid down with a woman and forced myself on her and ordered her and she got up and it was leaking out of her, guess what? I would have raped her. So by statute, by case law definition, Cassandra Ventura sexually assaulted me. I'm not looking to destroy Cassie. I've given Cassie more than a year to settle this before things got out of control. The problem is she's...
And here's the thing. I wish I could screen share. This is the guy that claims that Cassie gave him an STD and allegedly AB'd their baby without his knowledge. Now, if Cassie did any one of them things, Cassie should be on trial automatically. And tell you the truth, she should went on trial with Diddy, but you know, let's continue. Wait a minute, before that, and y'all women that want to discredit this man just because of the way he looks, go to hell.
being supported by women like you who choose to attack male victims instead of accept the truth, which is that a woman could have lied to get revenge on the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart and hurt her. It happens, people. They say hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, and that's true. If you hurt some women, they will do everything in their power. If you hurt some men, they'll do everything in their power to hurt you. But I want to end this by saying this. Cassie did this to herself. They say he who sets out on the course of revenge should dig two graves. People, Cassie dug the grave that is Clayton Howard herself. Cassie got on the stand trying to destroy
Facts.
Diddy. She should have took her $20-30 million and walked into the sunset. Now, where it's locked in.
Facts. Cassie made this bed. She needs to STFU and lay in it.
Friend of the channel, amazing breakdown of the situation. So let's go over to him.
Cassie just received the worst possible news she could have ever gotten. And this is coming days after Diddy was acquitted on charges accusing him of trafficking. This new development could bankrupt Cassie and take away all $30 million that she received for being a victim of Diddy. Back in 2024, when the feds were investigating Diddy for racketeering, trafficking, among other charges, they had a conversation with Cassie. Cassie was cooperative, and the feds asked Cassie to give them a list of names of the male escorts that her and Diddy had free calls with. Cassie gave the feds a bunch of names. A lot of the names that Cassie gave was brought up at trial, and some of them was called to testify, one of them being the Punisher. And all the escorts that were called to testify during the Diddy trial, they all testified that Cassie was who booked them and Cassie was who paid them. One escort in particular, Clayton Howard, he took it beyond Cassie just booking him. See, Clayton has a great deal of resentment for Cassie because he feels like Cassie is involved in something by giving the day to the feds that he didn't want to be involved in. So when he spoke to the feds, he went out of his way to notify the feds that he believed that Cassie was a co-conspirator, that Cassie was just as bad as Diddy, and that Cassie used Diddy power to torment the lives of other people.
One, I was in an economic position where I really needed the money. Two, Mr. Combs is incredibly powerful, and Ms. Ventura had no problem in her use of that power, which has actually been revealed now because we've heard recordings of threatening people who receive text messages. There are many different sides to people, and even Cassie is a normal individual. She has herself. There is a side where the people just a side that manipulated Sean Combs' power, the side that embraced his power, his position to do things that she wanted. So I was always afraid if I stopped commenting, I would
Hell, and that's why she stayed. She stayed for the damn power.
and made me feel uncomfortable that I would come to see her just to avoid any problems with Sean Combs. He's incredibly powerful. He has people that can follow me around, damaging my life for years with the cost of nothing. So I want to say I continued in the situation, but not as much. There were many times that I did stall them, break on them as the word goes, and not show up. But I kept the relationship strong enough that they never thought I was trying to turn on them or betray the secret.
Obviously, because he feels this way and has these opinions of Cassie, he was never called to testify. Because it don't look great for your case as a prosecutor
It don't.
to say that Diddy trafficked Cassie, but this man is saying that Cassie was just as bad as Diddy
defense brought him in order to give his perspective in front of the jurors. Not like it would have changed anything. I still think Diddy would have gotten at least transportation. But his testimony paints even a darker picture on who Cassie is and what power of Diddy's that she wielded within that relationship. I've said since the beginning, this sounds more like a toxic domestic violence situation, but
Which it was.
sounds like the bottom B. Cassie sounds like the madame in the operation, and she wielded his power like a sword, and then when she wanted a payday, all of those years later, she moved the final chess piece in a way to have him settle, getting the $20 million. Next chess piece, getting $10 million from the hotel. And she was so confident, so brazen, and people believing her that she got up on the stand. But now, after speaking, picking apart the testimony, the general sentiment has greatly shifted in her participation.
Was never called to testify. He was brought up in trial. They did say that him and Cassie was involved at the Four Seasons, but his testimony, his statements made to the feds was never brought up at trial. He wanted to testify because he had plans on outing Cassie before the trial and during the trial, but the feds did not allow it. Now, here's where things begin to get very tricky, and we begin to witness some foul play at work here. See, his lawyer was Tyrone Blackburn, the same lawyer who represents Lil Rod. Lil Rod
Idiot.
was the first people who sued Diddy. The feds actually used Lil Rod's lawsuit against Diddy to help structure this
Ladies and gentlemen, Tyrone Blackburn ain't nothing but a black version of Tony Busby. A whole bunch of fluff and no credibility.
case. So the feds was working with Tyrone Blackburn to make sure that his client, Clayton Howard, don't come out during the trial and don't speak out against Cassie and stays quiet until this trial is over. So Tyrone Blackburn was giving Clayton Howard the runaround when Clayton Howard was telling Tyrone he was ready to file a lawsuit against Cassie while the trial was going on.
I have been trying to file litigation for this matter against Sean Combs and Cassie since I want to say March of 2024, maybe February. But I was represented by Tyrone Blackburn. Tyrone Blackburn had substantial amount of litigation against Sean Combs, and the conviction of Sean Combs was dependent on him winning a lot of the civil cases. My attorney intentionally held the filing back to protect the credibility of Cassie. Tyrone Blackburn, he intentionally held it back. I have numerous communications to him where I'm directly informing him to file. He would talk to the prosecutor, and then he would duck me for weeks and not file the lawsuit. So this is why it was never filed.
Tyrone also represented Lil Rod and other people. So on top of the fans pressuring him to not blow this and to not allow the guys to file litigation against Cassie before the trial, it's also been said that guilty verdict is coming for Diddy because he wants, for his guilty verdict to be in place, so that he could take this guilty verdict, take it to a civil court, and get a lot of money for his other victims who were involved in Diddy. So Tyrone Blackburn was also incentivized for him not to sue Cassie as well, because once you put Cassie's credibility at question, that right there is the foundation of this entire RICO against Diddy. When Cassie falls, the case falls. Yeah. And if the defense attorney gives wind that this dude is trying to sue Cassie, they would just call him in as a witness and have him testify to everything he's telling TMZ right now. So Clayton eventually realizes Tyrone is stalling him, so that he fires Tyrone and files a lawsuit eventually. His lawsuit is predicated on the Adult Survivors Act and also the Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, where he would list Diddy and Cassie as co-conspirators. Here's where Cassie may be in trouble. So for their trafficking. However, even if the courts find that Cassie, isn't directly responsible for this dude being trafficked, it was expanded in 2008 to specifically include trafficking survivors and allow victims to sue anyone who knowingly benefited financially or by receiving anything of value from the trafficking crimes committed against them. This can include the buyer of the commercial sex act. Diddy was found not guilty in criminal court of trafficking Cassie. The court listed Cassie as an equal participator in this. And if Cassie was the one who was paying the dues, she was the one who executed the transaction. She paid for the commercial transaction. But beyond that, if they don't want to give her, she paid for that, she undoubtedly benefited from this. She testified in court that Diddy gave her gifts. Diddy rewarded her. Diddy paid for her home. Diddy bought her expensive trips because she would engage in free calls. That came with a $500,000 trip at Chanel. That came with cars. That came with houses. So undoubtedly, Cassie is culpable in some way. And if you're Cassie and you're the public recipient of $30 million due to being the victim of Diddy, now you have a lot of people who was looking at that $30 million. That's some amount of the portion of that pie.
Yep.
Howard is just the first.
Greed begets greed.
The hundreds of men that were involved in this recall coming for, they're coming out the
They're coming for you and Diddy.
They're about to see herself in a situation like Diddy. Once one person sued, the entire army is coming for her. The entire village want to come. But I was able to recover Clayton Howard's lawsuit, and we're going to go through exactly what accusations he's making against Cassie. He accused Cassie of trafficking him for commercial purposes, luring him with promises of gifts and favors, transporting him across state lines for prolonged encounters. She allegedly held him for days, using coercion and fraud to keep him under control. She pressured and threatened Howard to make himself available for these encounters, using financial compensation and isolation tactics to ensure compliance. Now, she would apparently withhold his clothing and phone so he wouldn't leave and he would stay for these prolonged encounters.
I know some of you guys are saying, well, if Diddy wasn't found guilty of trafficking, then why would Cassie? And you have to remember, that's why I played the clip all the way at the beginning, is that Cassie was the one that was doing the majority, the lion's share of communication with these men. So while there was not enough receipts to convict Sean Combs of trafficking, let's say some of these men have evidence of their clothing being withheld or their phones being withheld in order to ensure compliance. We don't know if there was any documented coercion or what fraud was utilized in line or under control. So it sounds like these men deserve their day in court just as Cassie did.
If you closed your eyes as I read that, you would have probably almost thought like I was reading a lawsuit from Cassie to Diddy.
Yeah.
Because what he is accusing Cassie of is exactly what Cassie is accusing Diddy of. He will lay claim that he was drugged and manipulated by Cassie, and even claiming that Cassie admitted to drugging him. So the Detroit allegedly drugged like Howard Clayton with controlled substances, including MDMA, at triple the doses she consumed to lower his inhibitions to facilitate sexual exploitation. She admitted to drugging him after he confronted her about an incident that left him disoriented and ill. She provided Howard with substances like ecstasy and marijuana to keep him awake and compliant during encounters, manipulating him into continued participation.
Now the general sentiment between all of these Diddy haters and Cassie supporters is that, she was just under so much violence and, she didn't know what to do. Diddy was paying her, salary, or there's another option there where Cassie was benefiting not only just monetarily from listening to Sean Combs, but then also sexually in getting her rocks off in these odd things that she was involved in and wanted to continue this lifestyle and continue to wield this power because she wouldn't have been able to do it without. That actually makes more logical sense why she would stay within the situation for this long when it was obvious that she had means to escape. I mean, she cheated on multiple people with Combs during her dating relationship with him. That doesn't sound like someone who was a damn dick, 100% within the relationship.
The argument that a lot of people will have that if this is true is that Cassie was acting on behalf of Diddy. Cassie was just doing things to make sure that Diddy enjoyed himself, and she was just carrying out acts of favors for Diddy. But then we have to go back to the racketeering and to the RICO that Diddy was charged with. If it's a criminal organization, and there are people under that organization who did things, the reason why Diddy had no co-conspirators was because the co-conspirator was also the alleged victim. So if Cassie was doing these things on behalf of Diddy or at the direction of Diddy, that don't make her any less responsible. She's still responsible for doing things to someone if these things are true. When I got to this part of the lawsuit, I fell out my chair. I would think that if I'm like an escort and I'm dealing with Cassie and Diddy, the least of my worries is I can catch something. These people are extremely wealthy at the top echelon of society. I don't think they would be carrying that either. But apparently I was wrong. Because according to Clayton Howard, Ventura initiated and insisted on unprotected sexual contact, disregarded Howard's safety, which led him to contracting chlamydia from her. When she was in court, Cassie did say that like she had like extreme like infections that like it would go like weeks from her would still be hurting, and that Diddy won't be here. He would try to get it to her quickly so he could get back to free off. So she already admitted in court that she would have these like infections so bad that after a while, like the medication was no longer working, and like that's how frequently she would get these infections. Now she later admitted, according to him, to contracting the STD and blamed his infidelity, showing reckless regard for Clayton's health. Her action resulted. Now this is where it gets a little messy, okay? Now he's claiming that he got her pregnant, and he's claiming that she aborted the pregnancy without informing him.
That's crazy as hell.
To demand unprotected. If true, right? This is all alleged. It is wild to be a participant of a free call in this wild ass lifestyle and not be on birth control. Crazy. Now listen, this is just trifling. Now you really can't sue someone for terminating a baby, especially not in the U.S. But yo, that just goes to show how reckless Cassie was, specifically for her own personal autonomy. You reckless, bro. You getting pregnant, like you not a girl. Crazy. I would think, bro, yo, if Diddy had numerous men busting to you, bro, like you would at least, I don't know, bro, get the tube shot, get birth control, something, man. But you getting pregnant, STDs allegedly. My God. According to him, Cassie will report him in compromising positions without his consent, using these recordings for her and Diddy's mutual gratification. When confronted, she justified the recordings by demonstrating her enjoyment of them, further manipulating Howard. Wow. Because there were times, by the way, where like Cassie and the escorts would do things by themselves when Diddy couldn't make it and she was recorded, I guess. Now, deception and false pretenses, Ventura concealed her identity by using the alias Jackie Star and misrepresented her relationship with Combs, claiming they were married to entice Howard into encounters. In court, Cassie would testify that Diddy made her do it unprotected. However, in this lawsuit, and this is why we get to see why Dave was this man on that stand, because he testified she lied to Diddy about reviewing Clayton's STD results to justify unprotected egg, pressuring Howard to continue despite his objections. This is crazy. Diddy was just convicted for transporting Cassie to engage in a free call, violating the Man's Act. So if Cassie transported Weezy to engage in a free call, then she violated the Man's Act. Protected as well.
Why am I smelling bacon?
Too, by the way, I know that it was created on behalf of the last name of a politician who inked it, who penned it. It was like back in the early 1900s. And it also has been
No wonder my breath smell like
women
bacon.
as well, such as Giselle Maxwell, the Epstein bottom.
It's Jelaine Maxwell.
The majority probably thinks Cassie is a victim in this trafficking scenario. Now, Cassie was a victim of domestic violence, 100% no doubt. We
True.
consider her thing, for sure. But a lot of other people do believe that Cassie was also a victim.
And here's the thing. I know a lot of y'all want to talk about the whole DV this, DV that. The DV was not on trial. That's what we need. We need to accept the fact that the DV was never on trial. The end. Let's continue.
So when he filed his lawsuit against Cassie, the people who believe that Cassie was trafficking, they've been really hard with him. I mean, they've been doxing him, they've been attacking him online, calling him a bum. So he made a video speaking up for himself, and here's what he had to say. So good morning.
Yeah, a lot of women been disrespecting the fuck out of this dude.
For damages involved in the Sean Combs trafficking trial. And I'm looking through social media and I see a lot of the women out there, particularly black women like myself, who
choose to victim shame and try to
Yep.
do everything they can to discredit me.
They'll do it to men, but they won't do it to women.
Trial was a loss to the Me Too movement and to hating women like the women who are trying to insult me. So let me tell you something, you women out there who would like to insult me. This is my story. I was paid by Cassie, Cassandra Ventura, for 8 years to be her male provider. I didn't have to be the best looking guy. I was the best in bed. And because I was the best in bed, guess what? I was given this arrangement. I was coerced. I was drugged. I was manipulated with promises of money and gifts for over a week.
Now, notice what he was saying. Ain't that the same MO that Cassie said Diddy did? Let that sink in. Ain't that the same thing that Cassie accused Diddy of doing? Yes or no question.
Period of 8 years to continue to be this woman's provider at her expense and at the expense of me. Now, at the time, legally, I didn't know my rights as well as I do now. I didn't create this conflict with Cassandra Ventura. She created it with me. She's the one who decided to bring up things that happened over 10 to 15 years ago to hold Sean Combs accountable for what was a partial truth. She's the person who introduced me to the U.S. Attorney's Office. She's the person who told the U.S. Attorney's Office about our relationship. So in essence, those out there who want to hate on me, who want to say that I'm attacking Cassie, you should realize the truth.
And here's another thing. The sisterhood is going to ride for Cassie just because she's a woman. And it's sad. Knowing the evidence that is out there, knowing that she is a co-conspirator of these alleged freak-offs, knowing that she threatened to take somebody out, and y'all are still riding with Cassie. It makes no sense. I don't understand it, and I don't want to understand it. Is Cassie a victim of domestic violence? Yes, but anything else, she is a co-conspirator, and more of y'all women need to admit that.
That Cassandra Ventura, your idol, did this to herself. She exposed herself to liability when she got on the stand and decided to mention me as the male escort who was with her when she overdosed and didn't made her Essex. That was a lie. Cassie had just woke up from sleeping 8 hours. Myself and Sean Combs were exhausted. We wanted to go home. Cassie's the one who lost that encounter. People, she tells you that Sean Combs made her have sex for her menstrual cycle. I can't speak for anyone else but myself. But I know the one time that did happen that Sean Combs was not responsible for that. That Cassie, in a drunken, intoxicated, hormonally imbalanced state due to her pills, manipulated and forced herself on me during her menstrual cycle. And what I mean by that is I had no knowledge she was on her menstrual cycle because the woman...
In fact, and I just like the fact that MTR pointed out that this man, he's not raising his voice, he's not being belligerent, he's articulating himself perfectly. The way that this man said, okay, since y'all are coming for me, let me go ahead and lay this out. And that's what he did. Let's continue.
was completely dark. She manipulated the woman.
That was freaky thing when you were younger.
Let me also say this. I find it also interesting that the same people that will ride high for someone of the image of a Cassie are not the same people that when someone else comes out claiming to be a victim, even after hearing everything that we've heard from the court case, that
Facts, MTR, facts.
person, just because he's a man, there is a legitimate belief that men cannot be victims within this amongst many of
And it's sad.
internet gender war continues.
And it's sad that women can see men as perpetrators in sex crimes, but women can never see men as victims of sex crimes. It is sickening and it is infuriating.
Persist. Literally the exact same story, flip the genders, and all of a sudden y'all don't believe.
Interesting. Extra cash. But then you grew up and you moved on. You became a social activist. You're now protesting against the police, protesting political causes. And then you look up and your name is being listed in the biggest case, probably in like the modern era, listed you as a millhouse fool. Listed all the nasty things you did for money 10, 20 years ago. I think you'll be upset too, and you'll probably have a vendetta against the person who brought this upon your life. You will probably hate the person who dug everything up and brought you right back into this when you were trying to move on. Because you can find multiple videos about him protesting the police, protesting against the police, like protesting police brutality. So it looks like he's trying to be at least an activist or at least get into politics. But now those prospects are looking good, right? Can you imagine voting for a mayor who was raw Cassie in front of Diddy? Like, cut it out, bro. Like, that day is over. Like, those days is done for. So, listen, man, I don't know. The vendetta against Cassie does throw a wrench into this because having this much vendetta and hatred for Cassie would probably, I don't know, incentivize you to kind of add some juice to some things regarding Cassie and Diddy. But I guess we'll find out in the court of law of this.
Shout out to Flock. Again, I'll leave this video down in the description box down below. I think you did a very, very good job putting all that information together. But looking at everything that's currently being alleged by the brother and then cross-referencing that to things that we've heard, the intimate details within Diddy's trial, I think that is going to be a large portion of the $30 million awarded to Cassie that will eventually, inevitably be extracted from her. It's crazy how a couple of receipts and some testimony can make you transition from the victim to the co-conspirator.
Facts.
I do hope justice is served in all these places.
Facts.
Injustice. Alright guys, leave your comments down in the comment box down below. I want to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think charges will be brought to Cassie? Do you think that this is another case of try the man but never...
Holler at y'all later.